So what we got today is a 2014 Ram 1500, but I'm sure this applies to any of the, whatever generation this is, Rams with the fog lights. And I noticed that my fog light was kind of bouncing around on the passenger side. I did a quick cursory check, and the mounting brackets that hold it in place were nice and snug. All the bolts were there. There's 3 bolts that hold the assembly in. And I've already taken it out, but you can kind of see a little bit of it on this side. It's not as bad. But you can see how that moves up and down. And so I've taken it apart, and what it turns out to be is this assembly here is just plastic on plastic, where this thing mounts in the the unit that allows you to adjust the angle of it, and it has worn an undercut under both sides of this to the point that I can't even get it off right now. Anyway, but it's actually worn an undercut. Get some light on the pin that it rotates on both sides, as well as wearing out the mounting hole. So there's no really good way to repair this thing without buying an entire assembly. And I haven't looked at what that would cost, but my guess is it's not free. I've got 50,000 miles on it, so it certainly isn't covered under warranty. But so I'm going to try to fiddle around with it and see if there's some way I can come up with to stabilize this thing that might be duplicatable for other people. Haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet, but we're going to take a look at it and fiddle around and see if I can come up with something. Okay, now that I've gotten this apart a little bit better, you can see the undercut on that piece. And sorry about the floppy camera, but it's also doing similar things to the other side. And so that's kind of what I need to do, is figure out how to either decrease the size of those holes or increase the size of that somehow. I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet, because there's not a lot of room in there. But the saga continues. Okay, so I just unscrewed the adjusting mechanism so I could get this completely apart. And you can see where the vibration has actually etched in to the plastic from these little star patterns, the casting marks around that thing to try to stiffen it. They have chewed into the bracket. What they appear to have done is they've used a soft plastic as the headlight frame, the headlight bezel, or bucket, I guess you'd call that. And this is a more brittle plastic of whatever sort, and it is chipping. The vibration is chipping this out. So you can see that thing's not even round anymore. These holes aren't even close to round. So that's our biggest issue. But we still do have the issue of the undercut here. It's probably the most visible on that side. You can see how it hooks. and I'm still not sure how I'm going to fix this, because you can't really screw into it. I mean, I don't adjust these fog lights. It's not like I go in there and tweak them so they have to move. I guess, you know, worst case, what I could do if this is annoying me so much is get them adjusted and drive a screw into it. I really don't want to do that. I really don't, because that's kind of a hack. So I'm going to keep thinking. Okay, so I looked at this for a while, and I really didn't want to cut this thing up, or, you know, it's so thin. You're talking, there's not a good way to sleeve any of this. There's not a good way to bush this, because it's barely a, you know, barely a 1/16 of an inch thick. So what I wanted to do is wrap a tie wrap around the post, because that would fit and fill the undercut. But of course, then you got your locking mechanism, and then it ain't going to fit in the hole. So I was going to try to just wrap it around and then come up over the top here, but that wasn't working. So I actually got the thing in together, I threaded it through, and then stuck the thing back up through here and tied it. And I'll be darned if it didn't, you know, get rid of the slop. You know, it is pretty tight. Now this was a very long and skinny tie wrap, and I think it was my last one of that type. It was probably this long, but it was this wide. You know, it was a very long tie wrap. It's probably twice as long as this one, but it was, you know, it was as long as this one here, but it was as wide as one of those small ones. And then it was able to just easily fit through and snug it up. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, put it back in, and I think that may do it. Okay, so she's back in. It ain't perfect. You know, if you really refund it, it'll move, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. And honestly, it's a hell of a lot better than this one, which is a hell of a lot better than that other one was before I put the tie wrap on it. So I think, just as a preemptive strike, since I'm in here and the weather's pretty nice, I'm gonna pull this one out, see if I can do the same thing to it, snug it up, because once you tighten it up, it shouldn't be vibrating as much anymore. Hopefully it'll stop the wear, and maybe they'll last a little longer. So that's my next step. If anybody's wondering how these come out, it's actually fairly simple compared to even changing your headlight bulbs. You got 10mm bolts, 3 of them, one here, and one up there. You pull those, and this whole assembly just slides out, pulls up and out right over there. The whole thing comes right out, and you can see, you know, looking at that same thing, that's the piece we got, and that's the issue we have, is that stuff is wearing itself out because they use crappy material or inappropriate material between the two of these. So that's what I'm going to do next. And so we got the driver's side off now, and you can see it's exactly the same issue we had on the passenger side. So I'm going to try, since I don't have any more of those long skinny ones, figures, I'm going to see if I can use one of these smaller ones and snake it around there, maybe with a pair of pliers or needle nose or something, to get that snugged up like I did that other one. We're going to give it a shot. Well, I got it, and it did snug it up. So it took a few shots. As you can see, I had a couple errors, but a little bit of finagling with a part of an O-ring pick, a pair of diags, and a pair of needle nose, and it's in there, and it's pretty snug. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to put that back together. I got to see where. Okay, that's where that is, because I didn't take a note of where the adjustment was on that other one. I'll set it up when it gets dark, but I want to get it close. So looking at that, it just needs to be where that's almost flush with the end. So yeah, I'm going to put that back together, and we will give it one last look after I'm done. All right, and we're back. And they are, I wouldn't necessarily say rock solid, but they ain't flopping around like a gaffed fish anymore. So I'm pretty happy with that. If it doesn't last, it won't, whatever. But I'm betting that's going to stay for a good long time. Certainly, I bet I don't have to screw with them for another 50,000 miles. So if you've got a Dodge Ram, this is a 1500, but I'm assuming that any of them with the fog lights are going to have this potential issue. And you have floppy fog light disease, pretty simple. One 10mm bolt, a 10mm wrench, take 3 bolts out, snake a tie wrap in there like I just showed you, slap it back together, go on about your day. So, save you a nickel. Anyway, if you like what you saw, please subscribe to the channel. You got any questions or comments, throw them down there below. And I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Appreciate it.